Hello, Teacher Laura here, and I just wanted to share today a bit about working with VIPKid versus working with Outschool. So I'm going to try to make this as succinct as possible because there's so much I could say, but I don't want to bore you with too many extra details. So I'm going to really try to go to the nitty-gritty of why I prefer Outschool and my personal experience with VIPKid, okay? So, just a little bit of personal background. I've been an educator for approximately 10 years now. I started out with private institutes, so it was, brick and mortar, not public, but it was private. So private schools, teaching Spanish, and then teaching English, okay? And I do have a little bit of experience in administrative tasks as well, working in some administration abroad for a private school. That was a crazy experience. If you guys want to hear about it later, maybe I'll do another video on that, but let's just focus on working online. So I was a little bit jaded after I got out of working with a private school as administration, so as a coordinator for an English program. A lot of things happened that shouldn't have happened, and it was a big fat mess. So I came out of that really feeling jaded, and I was looking for work just elsewhere. And initially I was back to, well, let's look for work, person-to-person work, actually getting up and going somewhere to go to work. And I wasn't so excited about the idea of looking online. Long story short, I ended up working with VIPKid, okay? I was super excited. I felt really pumped. I felt like it was something I could get behind. I felt a little bit nervous because it was a little bit younger than I had been usually teaching. I have taught kids, or had taught kids prior to that. But I was just a little bit nervous because I knew that sometimes the kids could be really, really young. So I went ahead, I got into it, I went to workshops, I did all the trainings I could. I did their TESOL, TEFL, I did everything, okay? I was really gung-ho, really into it. So that was around 2019 that I jumped into that. And I thought, ooh, this is awesome, and I'm going to make some really good money with this. And I saw all these success stories and how people earned thousands of dollars working with VIPKid, and how you had these awesome kids, everything was prepped for you. Okay, so that is true. You can choose your own schedule in that you decide whether or not you're going to teach certain times. The materials are all prepared for you, and the kids are definitely awesome. I had some students that I absolutely loved, and I had so much fun talking with them, okay? And for the sake of contracts, I cannot explicitly tell you how much my pay was. I can't talk about everything, but I'll just say that I went in expecting a certain amount of pay under their, let's just say, the incentive program they had at the time. So I was expecting a certain amount of money, and it was really cool because they said they offered all kinds of incentives. I was really excited about that, okay? Just a disclaimer, I understand there are tons of people out there and they're like, people my age, you're a bunch of idiots and you just want a bunch of free stuff and you are just looking for all of these pluses. You just need to be grateful you have a job and not be looking into, oh, do I have incentives? Are you going to give me a referral bonus? Are you going to give me a bonus for finishing the classes, etc., etc., okay? I understand what you're saying with that. So this is kind of a, I guess you want to say, caveat to what I'm about to say. So as time went on, within my first year, I really worked at it, but then they started taking away some of these incentives, okay, and some of these add-ons. Now, I'm grateful for work, and I still felt like my pay was good, and I didn't like the morning hours, but you gotta do what you gotta do, okay? That's just how work is. And in general, like an old boss of mine said, every job has its pros and cons, okay? You gotta weigh them and you gotta decide whether or not it is worthwhile for you personally, okay? So I get it. There's a drawback to every single job. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's your dream job. There's gonna be something that you don't like or that frustrates you, okay? So I just dealt with the morning hours. Okay, fine, whatever. But they really started cutting back on some things, and I saw some moves that had me really concerned. So, for example, when the state of, I believe it was California, passed a new independent contractor law, VIPKid decided to make the move that they were no longer going to hire teachers from California. And then they did that later with, I want to say New York and another state. They're like 3 states, last I know, that they do not accept teachers from there due to the independent contractor laws. For those of you who aren't familiar with being an independent contractor, if you're an independent contractor, essentially saying, I am my own boss, I make my own rules, I do things my way, my time, my money, etc., etc. Okay? VIPKid gives us a lot of leeway as independent contractors, but they do dictate quite a few things that in some states would be questioned as far as, well, are you really an employee or are you an independent contractor? Okay, that's a bit of a pet peeve of mine. Maybe I'll explain that in a video another day. So they started excluding certain states, and I was a little bit concerned about that, just because that seems a little weird. With my little administrative experience, I do recognize some red lights, and that was a bit of a red light for me. So there was that. And I want to say it was at the end of 2019 that they announced for any new teachers, they were going to completely change their incentives program. So for the veteran teachers, they had a promised base salary, and then they have some incentives of, well, you get so much, for example, maybe if you finish a class or if you do so many classes within a month's time. That was awesome, okay? That really helped, and personally that helped me with my, let's just say, salary, okay? So they announced that they were going to change how they did their incentives, so like their base salary plus their, whatever you want to call it, bonuses. And that was another red light for me because I'm thinking, ooh, okay, so they're cutting back. That wasn't the only thing that was going on. They had talked about some restructuring within the organization, which in admin lingo, that often means we are getting rid of people, we're firing people, and we're trying to be a lot smaller and do more with fewer people. That was another red light. They have still. So they have this really cool tokens program where you can do these fun activities and get more tokens. Well, for I don't know how many months, they completely took away like any physical rewards out of the token center, okay? All right, so I'm not offended because I can't get a dino for free, okay? My concern is that I see all of this going on in the organization, and in my mind, that's screaming that they're trying to make some cutbacks and that they may have some economic issues or some financial issues within the company, okay? So when I see all that, I'm thinking it's a matter of time before they give less to the teachers and they start taking away from us. So sure enough, at the beginning of 2020, pretty much, right when the pandemic hit, they announced that they were going to start implementing the new incentives program to all teachers. So it didn't matter if you've been working there for 6 years or 6 months, you were stuck with it. And for many of us, that meant that we got a quote-unquote pay cut. I understand the incentives bonus is not really part of your salary, but when you come in and you're expecting a certain amount of money and certain incentives and certain things that were promised to you, that's concerning. And I heard no end of stories of teachers being thrown under the bus for technical problems, IT problems, even though it seemed like there were actual system errors on VIPKid's part. They had bugs, they had issues. Fortunately, I never had any major problems. The worst thing that ever happened to me was not being able to get the student stars once they updated like their iPad app. So yeah, just a little bit of all of that was happening. Plus, I was pregnant, so I worked as long as I could while I was pregnant, and then after I had my child, I was like, I gotta do something else. I was really concerned about the financial aspect of things, and it just seemed a bit precarious, okay? And as well, I'll admit, I was absolutely wiped out with the kind of hours I was having to have. By no means was I working insane hours like many VIPKid teachers do. I know tons of teachers do like 10 hours, overnights, and if you enjoy that, if you love that, if you feel good about that, that's your jam, go for it. It wasn't mine, okay? And I understand, everyone's different. This is my story, this is how it was for me. And I mean, I'm sure there are other people who feel the same way, so that's why I'm sharing this. If you've had a fantastic experience with VIPKid, if the incentive system is awesome for you, well then stick with that, that's fine. This is just my personal experience. I'm by no means trying to slam VIPKid or anyone else. I'm just explaining why I jumped from VIPKid to something else. Okay, so with Outschool, I had been hearing about Outschool at the beginning of 2020 with the whole pandemic and everything, but I was really wary of jumping on a bandwagon because, first of all, I was pregnant and I had a lot of stuff to take care of other than teaching, And then secondly, I didn't want to just throw myself into something that sounded like a lot of work, and I wasn't really sure if that's what I wanted to do. So it was kind of like, you know, when you take a baby or maybe like a little animal to the beach and they see the ocean for the first time, and they're like, I don't know if I like that sound when they hear the ocean, and they start getting a little closer, a little closer, a little closer. We put a little toe or a little paw in the ocean. Oh, it's not too bad. Put another paw, another foot in the ocean, and they finally end up swimming around and they're happy. That's how it was with Outschool for me. It was like, well, I don't know. I'll look into this. And then it was, well, I'm going to watch some more YouTube videos like what I did with VIPKid before I did VIPKid. And then it was, well, it sounds good. Why not? I'll have to prep stuff, but let's go for it. Okay, so by the end of 2020, I was like, okay, I got to do Outschool because I need to have absolute freedom of my schedule. I need to be able to cancel if something happens because I have a young child, I have a baby, and I need to be able to have more control over my finances. So I went ahead, I applied into Outschool. I tried to follow all of the advice possible that I found online. I primarily leaned on YouTube for help with that. So I tried to make an excellent biography. I took my time when I did like an intro video about myself and tried to make it as representative of myself as possible, but fun. And then I also did my demo class thing to try to reflect as best as possible who I am as a teacher, okay? So I tried to completely fill out all of the form, and they got back to me pretty quickly, did the background check, no issues with any of that. So yeah, I'm with Outschool now, and I am so happy I made the jump. If you're on the fence about joining Outschool or just teaching online in general, I would strongly recommend it. I really like Outschool though, above any other online thing I've seen because, okay, you're not just teaching English. You choose your own schedule. You choose your own topics. As long as you know what you're doing and you have some experience and you can back that up, you're golden. You can control how much you earn. You do have to give a commission to Outschool for using their platform, but it's worth it. It's really, really worth it. And I no longer am having to get up really early in the morning or be up at super late at night. I can decide what to do and when. So I really, really like it. If you're concerned about materials, you can check out some of my other videos about what you might need as far as equipment. But there's no reason to worry about having to go fancy. I have a super simple background here. I've also made up super simple do-it-yourself backgrounds to put on the wall very quickly if I needed something fancy or fun. And you can also use Zoom backgrounds. And as far as equipment, just use what you have to start out, and then as you go, try to buy better equipment, okay? So those are some reasons why I'm no longer working with VIPKid and why I'm working with Outschool. So far, I'm really happy with Outschool. I haven't made like thousands of dollars already every month, but I'm working towards some goals and I feel good about what I'm doing. So if you're looking for a bit of money on the side and you're wanting to get your feet wet teaching online, I'd strongly recommend Outschool. If you're thinking about joining Outschool, check out my referral code down in the description box below. I also have my email down in the description box. So if you use my referral code, or if you don't, you can send me an email and I'll answer as soon as I can. I am teaching and I have a child, so I might be a little slow in getting back to you, but I do try to respond to my emails as soon as possible. I never charge. I'm more than happy to help. And if you have had kind of the experiences that I've had, if you are looking for some work that is fun but fulfilling, then I know that Outschool is for you. So please check out Outschool and give it a shot. And I mean, if it's not for you, that's okay too. It's good to just experiment and see what's out there so that you know what you want to do and what you don't want to do. So thank you so much for listening. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. If you have any questions or if you'd like a certain video, please tell me down in the comment section below and I'll be happy to look into that. So thank you so much for listening, and go and be awesome. Keep on teaching.